welcome back to Let's Talk Podcast. Keeping it on theme with all my Chelmsford guys, I've got an absolute legend in the studio. I'm going to let you introduce yourself as what legend you are.
A legend, that word. Hello, Mark. I'm Giuseppe Morena. See it, Chelmsford, born and bred.
Oh, come on, man, that ain't it. That ain't it. He's being so humble in here. Now, so I have to start with a question first of all before I get into anything else, right? So, being Chelmsford boys, you're Chelmsford born and bred, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To Italian parents. As a combination.
Yeah. Italian parents in Chelmsford. Wow.
Immigrants.
Yeah. You can't say that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, my question to you is, for someone who's not from Chelmsford, tell us what there is of a hidden gem within Chelmsford that you think everybody should know about.
Really? Oh, dear, that's a difficult one. I can't honestly answer.
Could be absolutely anything.
Anything.
Could be a club.
The Hot Box.
Could be the Hot Box.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Hot Box.
Well, it's a community-run company, grassroots venue, and that is really close to my heart. It's somewhere I found during COVID, and it was struggling after, and so I've done a couple of things for them, did some charity events, and I play there live regular, and that for me, that's it's such a good place. I know people say it's off the beaten track, but it isn't really. It's just a nice place to sort of. It's how can I say? It's everybody's welcome. Everybody's made to feel welcome.
So Hot Box is like a music venue, isn't it?
Yeah. So
there's a lot of DJing goes on. There's some live bands.
There's open mic nights. There's spoken word.
Yeah.
Quiz nights. It's a place where a lot of things happen, not just sort of music, and we don't have many of those places in town.
And where it's based down the viaducts,
yeah.
Down the viaducts, there's some mad little businesses down there as well,
Yeah.
and everyone's nice and independent, and I love it down there. And I think you're right. I think that's a proper hidden gem.
Yeah, I mean, going out has changed in the last couple of years. I think, there isn't that much money about, and everything is sort of struggling. And, we're quite close to London, which makes things, harder, I think,
I agree.
for businesses.
We was talking to somebody the other week, actually, because if you think about it, you're like half hour to Liverpool Street from Chelmsford, which is great. But then, I think when you're doing like music venues or stuff like that, you're half hour from London.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot.
It's hard. It's hard to sort of sell tickets to events. To sell them out. Even if you're sort of selling 100 tickets, it's you need to sell that to sort of break even. Make it worthwhile, sort of doing it. Sometimes it's not about the money. I do a lot of stuff that isn't about money, but when you're sort of venues need to sort of you've got to charge the money to keep things going, otherwise the wheels fall off eventually. And
but I think culture's changed as well. I really think that people, especially the younger generation, they don't go out drinking.
No.
Like, really don't. It ain't like in our day.
No. But I think it's that affordability thing again. It's if it's hard for us, I think the youngsters are. It's a totally different. There's lots of things going on. People are doing things and keeping the scene going. Is, you know, I say that loosely. You know, there isn't a scene like there used to be, especially around here. There's lots of pockets of people doing things, which is brilliant. You know, like the two Andrews doing the metalworks over the industrial estate. The others are Chelmsford. You know, I think that's brilliant. But you know, everybody needs to sort of get up and support these things. Or they, you know,
have you been over to their venue?
Yes. Oh, I can't say too much, but I'm hopefully going to do something over there with them as well. You know,
I think it's the maddest. Oh no, I'm completely out of focus there. There we go, back on. I think it's the maddest, most unique place I've ever come across in my life.
Yeah, it lends itself so well to so many different creative things, not just music, but other things. And yeah, it does need to sort of, you know, we need to start supporting. And I can understand it's tough out there. No, you can't go to everything. You can't, you know, you end up picking and choosing what to do.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But yeah.
So let's roll back. Now, I've called you in here because you are a bit of a legend, to be honest. And you have worked with some legendary people. So the reason how we met was this podcast studio, when it was being built, I needed to soundproof it or get some sort of soundproofing or something in there. So you got tagged on Facebook by a good friend of ours, Mark Miller, who's part of Chelmsford for you. And he said, you're the guy that could help us with soundproofing stuff out. I unfortunately couldn't meet you, so you met my wife. She came over, she was absolutely raving about it. She said, Mark, you've got to have this guy on a podcast. He's like an absolute legend. The people he's worked with, people like the Prodigy and, you know, people like that. And at the moment, you was currently at the time working with the guy who's blown up on Instagram. Who's doing
Fish.
Fish all this stuff. So how on earth did you get into that?
By accident. I was working with Dave Valentine, who's my good friend. We had an remix outfit called Self-Preservation Society. We used to remix pretty big artists in the early 90s. And then sort of about 98, 99, like the internet started coming out and, you know, music was sort of being shared and there wasn't that much money in that remix game and putting records out and sort of doing DJing. And I'm a bit like you, I like messing around with technology, wires and bits and pieces like that. And I built my own room and doing like wire and mixing desks up and then just plugging things in and just generally sort of I self-taught, learnt by accident, and it just sort of evolved to us having a pretty decent studio like at my house, and then the bottom just fell out of the music industry at that point. The dance music, it was like really difficult to make any money, and I remember a guy that at a record company that said, "Oh, you've always got to have a sort of plan B." But I always used to argue with him. I said, "Yeah, but if you're working on a plan B, you're not working on plan A." And but I'm glad he sort of said that, and I just thought, you know, and there was so many people wanting technical stuff done at their studios because everybody was writing dance music at home, and it just evolved from there. And I can't remember how I got in, but I mean, I used to know the guys from the Prodigy before they were in Prodigy, from sort of going out raving to the Braintree Barn and places like that, and. I was at a shop in Chelmsford at Music Connections where everybody used to go and buy their equipment, and I bumped into Leroy and Liam there, and we were sort of just, you know, chatting, and he said, "Oh yeah, I need a sort of keyboard stand," and the first thing I built was Liam's for his keyboard stand. This is all before. This was sort of between the first and the second album they were doing. Before Firestarter and all, and before it really went so
like
big.
A proper old school Prodigy.
Yeah. And So I built this keyboard stand, and then of course all the others wanted one, and it sort of just evolved from there. And then I just started doing lots of small sort of studios of people in people's sort of programming rooms in people's houses, and all the time I was still writing and producing my own stuff, and it went from there. And then one day, I had a studio space in the shop underneath the Music Connections, and the phone kept ringing in the shop upstairs, and no one was answering it, and it was getting on my nerves. So I went up and picked it up, and it was the tour manager, Malcolm from Underworld, wanting a mixing console that no one had, and their one had blown up, and I just happened to have one in the room, the actual bit they needed. And I just drove it over to Romford, and he just showed me around what they were doing, and he goes, "Oh, you've really sort of saved my bacon on this one." I said, "Well, just give me the old one, and I'll get that repaired." And we just sort of built up that sort of rapport. And one day I made the mistake of saying that I was going to buy a cable, and he ripped into me. He said, "Buy it, you should know how to make them." And I spent 2 days with him learning how to wire cables up and do patch bays, and then I ended up building all the Prodigy studios out the back of that. And so that was late 90s.
So when you say you built the studios from what? All the electronic parts and everything was all you?
Yeah, all the wiring. Yeah, putting it all in. I had a friend who's making the cabinets. But I sort of designed all the bespoke keyboard racks and just sort of built it around. They went digital, which was the worst thing that they could have done at that point, because we used to have these Mackie desks, and they were brilliant. And then pretty much everything in the 90s, dance music-wise, was probably recorded on one of these 32 8-bus desks. And Liam used to use the desk, you know, and Mackie sort of bought this digital disc out, so all the studios changed to digital one, and it didn't work for all of them, let's say it that way. But yeah, so that's how it sort of evolved, and I got into the technical side for quite a long time while still writing, and then I had a couple of years of having a lot of personal stuff go on, and yeah, I lost myself a little bit, and then kids came along,
yeah,
and then it was
just rolling back there. What were the Prodigy like? What were they like to
normal
work
people? With? Just brilliant, you know. It's I speak to Leroy a lot. You know, I did a lot of stuff with Leroy when he left the Prodigy as well. I looked after his band Flight Crank. I did a little bit tour managing, and looked after some of when he just started DJing again.
Because he's from Chelmsford, isn't he?
Braintree. Uh-huh. Yeah, Keith used to go to school in Chelmsford back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I spent a lot of time with Leroy after he left the Prodigy, and that took us down another sort of path, which was good. And I was reconnected with a lot of people that I'd worked with, you know, that I'd remixed with, and then Darren from Underworld, when he left Underworld and started a couple of his own labels, and he put a lot of stuff out that I'd sort of written that were just sitting on my hard drive. I sort of played him a few bits, and he said, "Oh, yeah, I'll have that." He released something I didn't want to release, but he said, "No, I've played it, and it sounds really good, so it's going to be released." and it's so you need.
So back then, like, you weren't signed or nothing. Then you were just making music, and then what? He just took it and ran with it, paid you for it, or how does it work?
So the first record we put out, we did it at Strong Room, which is a huge studio in London at the time, proper top flight recording studio, and we went in to do a I don't know how we ended up there. I think I met Dave Valentine in the pub in the Bay Horse one Saturday, and someone said, I was like, friend Ian Wright, Joe's got a sampler and a mixer. And Dave was Sunscream's DJ. So we got together, we did this track, and I was still working in the city at the time, at my computer job. And we went up to Strong Room and recorded it, and got put out. And it did quite well. But it's the second single that blew us up. And then we ended up remixing Simply Red and Eternal, Human League. God, the list, it goes on, really. Robert Owens. And then that went for a good sort of 6-7 years of doing that. And then we sort of went our separate ways. And I continued programming and engineering and writing. And we were loosely signed to. We made a lot of money remixing, and then I did a lot of stuff with Alabama 3 after. I produced a couple of tracks on their album, and that was a turning point for me because I was actually a writer. So it was like, it was good money. But I always had the technical side in my back pocket, fixing people's studios. And
so best of both worlds, really,
yeah,
for you, isn't it?
Yeah, because, it's very difficult to make money out of music now. If anything, it's gone more, I'm playing live now, live electronic with Cyan Dave, from Stark. And it's sort of... I've got the joy back for it again because it's, what we're writing is going to be played live, and eventually sort of, we'll record that album.
When you get round to it.
Yeah.
So, obviously, like back in the day, the club scene was a lot different to what it is now. I mean, I'm a proper retired raver, but I had a hard 90s, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I loved it, absolutely loved the rave scene. Me and Hetty still go raving now, at
I've
our
seen
age.
you dancing as well, Al.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, we see you at the festival a little while ago, So, yeah, we love a little rave up and everything. But, culture's so different now. And, the people are so different now. And, the music's completely changed. Mate, AI is like insane what it's doing with music. I was talking to a guy the other day. He's a producer from Boreham. And he does a lot of his music on AI now. It's crazy how the music scene's gone. Have you heard any of this, like 1950s soul stuff they're doing with gangster rappers?
Yeah, I saw an Eminem one the other day. Someone's I can't remember what the song was, but they've done that. I think it's good, but
I disagree. I don't think it's good at all. I think I listen to it, so I'm probably not helping the whole system with it all because I'm downloading it from Spotify and helping with the streams and everything, and it's taking it away from the proper artists. We had the same in the media industry with AI coming in with photography and with being able to AI generate footage and stuff like that. So I guess it's how you embrace it, isn't it?
That's
and I
right.
guess it's how your clientele would see it and value it. I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I tested it out to see how good it was. It takes a few goes, because it's trained. You've got to keep putting things in, keep prompting it, and eventually you'll get something out of it. I think it's a useful tool, especially like if you want to, especially doing house music, and then you want a vocal and just to see what it sort of sounds like. I've done a couple, but I've actually thought, right, okay, got the guide track down with the AI vocal. Now I'm just going to find a vocalist to do it, which I think, that works for me that way, because. I love going into the studio and not having a clue what I'm going to do that day, and maybe pull out some records, sample, going back to doing things like I used to do. The good thing about the software now, you can do things quicker. But sometimes it's just nice to sort of go back to do things how you used to do them. And I find that, for me, kickstarts the creativity. Like you find an old sample, an old record, you know, that's how dance music is. Everybody sampled everybody. That's how it's sort of evolved. But I've been writing stuff from scratch now, you know, like programming all the drums and not actually sort of ripping a loop off. You've got Splice where you can download loads of stuff already sort of, you know, in key, but it's like cut and paste dance music, and that's not where I come from. You know, and it's, you know, I've got two young kids that I sort of, I can't say they're younger than me, that I found that are actually sort of really brilliant producers. And I think they're going to go a long way if they sort of, you know, trying to sort of steer them in the right direction, away from some of this stuff, and trying to be sort of.
I guess like we find the same thing with, especially for me with my workflow. I sort of embraced it slightly in that, just because like the demand's there so much. So, you know, if we go and film something, it needs to be turned around really quickly. So I will use some AI programs to help me do that. Not to generate footage and stuff like that, but actually help my workflow within the software that we use. Yeah. So I welcome it in that, but I think exactly like what you're saying, you know what I mean? To make something from scratch, one, shows your talent for a start, and two, shows that you've got such an ear for it as well, you know, because you know what you want and you're actually creating something completely from scratch, like baking, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You create the whole thing from scratch.
That's you know, that's what that's what I've fallen in love with again. The fact that I can actually do it quickly with the software programs now, like put an arrangement, but the fact that I can actually record anything in the studio, you know, with a mic, you know, I can get some real drums, and I can sort of do my own sampling, create that, rather than sort of go to a subscription based sample pack. Yeah. You know, I mean, sometimes I get sent about 300 and 400 promos a week. I've sort of unsubscribed from a few of them, but you know, I can listen to 50 or 60 of them, and I can just tell you exactly where some of the samples have come from, because you know they're on. Oh, I've heard that on Splice, and I've heard that there, and it's great. They're great things to get the creativity going, you know. But sometimes it's like, you know, you think, well, I could have programmed that. And
plus, also, I guess if everybody's using something off of a platform, everyone's going to be using it, aren't they? You know what I mean? There's a couple of platforms that we use for music, like subscription based, just because we know it's all clear when it comes to TV or anything like that, or any platforms. And I hear them. I hear the same songs that I've ever used on a video. I hear them on a TV ad, or I hear them in some other video.
What, like the royalty-free music?
Yeah. So we pay like a subscription to a couple of websites where we get all like our music from. And it's soul destroying, you know what I mean? When you think, I've done this wonderful video, lovely piece of music and everything. It took me hours to search for it, found it, and then like, you know, an advert comes on the telly and you think, oh, fuck's sake. It's the same song as what we've been using, you know what I mean?
I mean, I did the music for Chelmsford for You, the concrete canvas.
Oh, yeah.
Because my friend Adam had filmed it, and he sort of phoned up and said, "Oh, you've got any music? Nothing banging." I said, and this is the thing. Everybody thinks I play really banging music. I do like, you know, I like my techno. I like my sort of harder edge sort of house. But you know, if you come look at my record collection, you know, I've got loads of, you know, US garage and US house. You know, it's if I like the sound of it,
not one Roy Orbison. No?
Actually, I have, because when my nan passed away, I inherited all her record collection that she didn't know what she was buying, but I inherited all her record collection because my granddad was going to throw it all in the skip, and I can't deal with people throwing vinyl away. So I took it, and I've got a few bits that and it's got a special place in my studio that because it was my nan's, but yeah, I've lost my thread now.
So what are you obviously you still got like a fair bit of vinyl then?
Yeah, not as much as I used to have. I've cut it back to a couple of thousand.
Because I remember back in the day I used to do a bit of pirate radio, like from my old Wickford days.
Yeah.
Used to do a bit of pirate, pay me tenner, go and do my hour and everything. And we used to turn up with 2 massive record bags. Do you know what I mean? And I come out of DJing like for ages, and then I started going back like proper raving and clubbing and whatnot. And one of my mates, he's quite a big DJ, and he just turned up with like a USB or an SD card or something. I'd be like, "What the fuck's that?" He said, "That's basically my record bag." I'm like, so just everything's done on.
It's
that.
nice, isn't it? It's you've got to embrace the technology. It's all vinyl. You can't DJ. The thing is, most of the people that are DJing now started when vinyl had gone out the window. There's always those people that have just sort of stuck to. I love playing vinyl, but it's just trying to find somewhere when someone's actually sort of do a vinyl set, and it fills me with dread because it's like, have they set the decks up properly? Because there's an art to setting them up to play vinyl. There's nothing visual. It's all with your ears. All right, you'll see, put the needle on the record. That's it, and the rest of it is, you've got to feel it. And I love playing vinyl, and it's great. I feel less stressed when I play vinyl because it's like there's less things to go wrong. Other than needles, but with CDJs, I've had some fantastic sort of like. There's been some car crashes with it, when you haven't sort of done your prep correctly with record box, But I love that side of it because you can get really creative with it. You can loop things up. You can do. On Saturday, I did the live set at the Hot Box, and after we finished playing, we have a thing called a DJS 1000, which is the Pioneer sampler, and it's all linked via Ethernet. And I connected that to my 303 acid machine, so I actually did live acid on top of where I was DJing because it was syncing up with the records, and I thought, oh, this is good. This is another sort of avenue where we can sort of go down. Yeah. And because it's all, for me, I can't cope with the 1 hour DJ. I just think, well, why bother? There's only certain people that I'll DJ for an hour, because to help them out, Mark Miller. Yeah. It's a festival, everybody does that 1 hour, but I lose interest. I can't DJ for an hour. You can't. What can you do in an hour? You can't tell a story in an hour. And do people want to stand there and listen to a story? And it's just, I thought, it's everybody's attention span got,
Yeah, it's just got smaller and smaller.
It's like you get sent tracks that are 3 minutes long, and when we were sort of playing records, and I can't write. I struggle to write records that are under sort of 5 minutes is probably the shortest one I've written. But they're all sort of 7-8 minutes long, and then if you're sort of playing a set with those sort of length, you're playing like 10 records in an hour, and it's like
they're done, isn't it?
It just makes me laugh when you get sent a record. It's 3 minutes 42, and then you think, oh, there's an extended mix, and it's an extra 10 seconds longer, and it's like, and I think, oh right, it's there's a place for everything, right, in the dance. Everybody's got different tastes, and then if people want to play an hour and have 10 DJs in 6 hours, great, crack on with it. That's people like that sort of thing. Then there's people that want to sort of go out and want to listen to a DJ. And and doing a lot in the warm up set as well. You know, I love doing the warm. People say, "Oh, why do you like doing the warm up?" But that's one of the. It's a difficult thing to do, the warm up, because you're warming the crowd up, and you don't want to go to you don't want to go
too hard, do you?
Yeah. You know, I've been some places where like you've gone in and there's no one in there, and the warm up DJ is already at 135 BPM, and it's and it's like, oh dear, I'm gonna have to go up there and rein him in. But I don't do too much DJing. I enjoy it, but I prefer what I'm doing now, like the live performance, because I'm blessed that I've got two people that are in the band that have really got the knowledge of doing the electronic music, and it sort of pushes me on to sort of get better at doing that.
Tell me about the guy on Instagram. Forgive me, I forget his name.
Fish 56 Octagon.
From what I can gather, he like went from zero to fucking hero, and blew up on Instagram. Yeah. And you've helped build all his equipment and stuff for him. Is that correct?
But it's a really weird story. The guy that manages Fish is a guy called Chris Brown, who is he's been around for so long, and he's a really lovely bloke. He saved my life on a number of occasions when things are sort of like got quite tight. He just pops. I don't know. He must sense it. Pops up and sort of says, "Oh, do you wanna? Can you help me have a problem?" And it's nice that he, after all these years, he sort of calls me up and, "Can you help this person out? If I can, I will." And I'm like that with anybody. If I can help someone out, I'll help them out. And I'd seen him. I'd been following him for ages and ages on there. And it's just that his knowledge. He's done so much clubbing, and I don't know how he's managed to retain all that knowledge, because I need reminding of things. I've got to go and look at things if someone asks me. But his knowledge, when he talks about, and the passion and infectious about, his music, because I think he used to do things about watches and cars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, before all the music thing, and he started doing the music thing, and I've met him twice, and I did the acoustics in his, just sort of helped him set up the panels in his studio, and absolutely lovely bloke, really knowledgeable, and he just got a good feeling when I was there. I think he's gonna sort of go a long way. He's already. It's amazing how he's got to it, but he knows his stuff. He knows his music.
So his platform's very much about just playing songs, isn't it? Playing tunes, talking about taking us back to the old school.
But the good thing about it is he's introduced all that to a new, the new generation, and they're loving it.
Oh, mate! So we've been Eddie and I both drum and bass nuts, and I've noticed how young the crowds are now that are getting into drum and bass, who absolutely love it. I think, man, this is stuff I was listening to like 92, 93. It's got all the same samples in it. It's got the same rhythm to it. Absolutely everything. It's just done a full circle, and I love watching all the youngsters getting into it.
Good music's good music, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how old it is. Yeah. And the thing is now, it's like, you see a lot of people our age, going out.
What do you mean, like 23?
Yeah.
24?
Yeah, if you'd have said to me, like, you still be doing this when you're in your mid-50s, it's, I'd say, nah. I'm enjoying it more now.
Yeah.
Than I did.
Same. We go to some quite big clubs, and it's all people our age, and there's no bother. like never any bother, because we're just all there for the music.
Yeah.
You know, it's all the same. They're all like 45 above. You know, the crowd's so nice. We went to a big one up in Greenwich a couple of months ago to go and see Slipmat and a few other people. And it was basically like loads of people that I'd known for years raving. It's such a nice little community vibe
I did
and everything.
Slipmat studio as well.
Did ya?
Years ago, yeah. Yeah, he when he was, I mean, he's local lad. So,
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah, I helped him out a few times, and I had some very interesting times in Ibiza with Slipmat and Chris and a few other people. I spent a lot of time over there, probably about 2000, 2002, 2003. Yeah, went out there quite a bit. Yeah, some funny stories there with I don't think I can sort of.
I'm just going to say, can you share any?
No, I'm just thinking. No, probably not. Some of it I can share. I nearly killed Dario G in Es Paradise. Chris Brown had an outfit called the Rough Drivers, and they had quite a lot of success with it. And the other guy in there, Bradley Carter, who was a really good friend of mine, and I still see him to this day, and was DJing in Es Paradis, and it's got a really dodgy. The DJ booth's a bit high up. You have to get up some steps. And I just remember being in the booth, and next thing I know, I've turned round and I've missed the whole steps. And I was a bit of a bigger lad then, and I fell down and I knocked Dario G over. God rest his soul. He's passed away. And yeah.
When you say you knocked him over, I
fell on top of him.
Down. Oh, right.
Yeah, I fell on top of him, and yeah, which was quite funny. So, you know, Bradley, we do laugh about it. And just before COVID, the October, there was this massive 90s fest in Central Park here.
Oh, yeah.
And Leroy phoned me up. Oh, I'm DJing here tonight. Do you want to come down with me? I said, okay, yeah, I'll come down. So I went down there. And I turned round, and Dario G's there, because he was performing as well. And he looked at me. So I recognised you, and I'm thinking, oh no, I can't.
Yeah. Can't relive it. Can't tell him why.
I better not stand anywhere near the stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was more of a a story that I could tell. There's lots of other stuff that sort of went on, but yeah, it's really weird that I've sort of just Essex is for dance music. You know, you had Prodigy, Underworld, Slipmat, Rough Drivers. There's been so many people. You know, Depeche Mode, Nights Reb, going back. You know, as a target audience, it's sort of going back to the 80s, and there's so much talent. There's so much talent here now. Even coming up, I see it. The younger kids, and it's just like brilliant that, you know, who'd have thought sort of 35, 40 years ago, you know, when all this sort of started, that it's get to this sort of.
I don't know what it is with Essex, but I find it on a whole, it's one of them places where everybody's so driven to the point where I have to succeed 100% in everything that I do. You know, I've got quite a few mates that have come out of Essex that have gone on to do massive things. You know, I've got one mate who's a huge YouTuber. I've got one mate who's, you know, become a huge actor and whatnot. I don't know what it is with it round here with the Essex culture, because I think the white XR 3i and the stilettos and all that is like long gone. You know what I mean?
Gone, yeah.
And it seems like, you know, we're known so much as being more driven and want to be more successful than everybody else for some reason. But, you know, thinking back, that's probably gone on forever, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I got involved doing the music. I got involved in the music side of it, and when there was a lot of studio stuff going on and recording and writing and doing technical stuff, it took me away from sort of going out quite a bit because, you know, I was doing other things. But it was nice to sort of like experience that early on prior to getting involved in the music industry. It's like, you know, get up. Get up on a sort of Friday, go to work, come back Friday, and then you'd be out till sort of Sunday night. You know, roll into the work Monday morning, and it was just it was great to be at the beginning of something. You know, I came back. I left school, and I'd gone to live in Italy for a bit. I wanted to go and work out there, so I went to stay with my uncle and auntie. And when I was about 16 and a half when I went out there, right about that. And I stayed out there for about 6 months, and I ended up going to places like Rimini and down that side of Italy and all that Italo house sort of stuff, and it was brilliant. And then National Service caught up with me. Because I had to register in the town I was working in, and my granddad said, "Well, look, you got to go for the medical, or you go back to England, but you've got 48 hours to do that because they'll turn up. If you don't turn up for the medical, they'll send someone round to arrest you." I thought, right. So I went down a travel agent because there was no internet then.
I was going to say, tell her.
Yeah. Booked myself, and literally I was gone the next day. I was back home. Yeah. And then I got back home, and it was just before it all sort of like, you know, just before it all blew up. You know, that the summer of love sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I was hooked, you know, the music and I'd got a pretty good job in the city working for a computer company, and there was money to buy keyboards and mixers and stuff like that, and just generally messing about for about 2 or 3 years. And then I met Dave, and then it went on from there. But yeah.
What advice would you have for anybody up and coming who wants to get involved in music, Chelmsford especially? What advice would you give them?
Depending, you know, DJing or producing or.
I guess probably DJing, because I've seen quite a few DJs at the moment. Like we went to A Canteen the other week, and there was some. I think the lady that owns A Canteen, I think her son
Spike.
Yeah, he DJs a
brilliant.
bit, doesn't he?
And Stan, the older lad, I've DJed with Stan a couple of times. Yeah, brilliant. I mean, you do your own thing. You know, build your own thing. Don't just sort of, you know, copy, because that's the trendiest thing that's happening on the thing. Because if you're good and you stand out in what you're doing, you know. I think the social media side of it is an absolute bloody nightmare.
Oh mate, it's a fucking cancer, isn't it?
Smoke and mirrors. It's it takes up so much. You know, I can't get my head around it sometimes. Where I can't name names, but I got booked to play somewhere locally, and it was not a very big place, and so it all went through. And at that time, I had an agent. I said, "You're gonna have to go through her because she'll be upset. You know, she won't be if I start booking my own gigs."
Yeah, of course.
And so it was all sort of done and dusted. I thought, right, okay. And in her contract is that, you know, you lose your deposit if you cancel sort of like 48 hours before the gig. I said, no, they'll be all right. They're local. Anyway, get a phone call the day before. Oh, we're going to have to go with someone else because you haven't got that many followers on Facebook. So I didn't say anything, and I'm getting good at this. I just pausing a little bit and not sort of go off on one. And I thought, but your place only holds 250 people. I was like, I could put an email out and people will come. Yeah, well, we're gonna go with this other person. I said, all right, okay. And then he realised that he lost his deposit, and then sort of kicked off.
So because of the following, you didn't get the gig?
Yeah, he wanted someone else with this geezer's got like 10,000 followers. Yeah, but they ain't all going to come down here.
No.
You know?
And probably most of them are fucking not real people anyway.
No. So anyway, it made me laugh, and I just thought, has it got to that, you know, where you've got to have this following, and, you know, what happened to, you know, I've seen so many people that are such good artists, right, that are not where they should be. And there's people that are where they are that shouldn't be let loose in any of that sort of stuff.
You know what? I think that transpires to a lot of industries. So I used to work a lot in professional boxing. Exactly the same thing. You know, if you're not putting bums on seats, no matter how good a boxer you are, if you're not putting bums on seats, you ain't going to go anywhere. You know, and I think that's the same. It seems like that's the same with the music industry as well.
If you took away all the standing up, doing the in heart shapes and all that, and hugging and twisting all that, you take all that away, I reckon sometimes there's no substance. You know. You know what is there once you've taken all that Instagram away? What would happen if it got switched off tomorrow? You know, everything would just.
We just go back to old school how we used to market ourselves in the old days.
It'd be so difficult to go back to the old days. People wouldn't know how to. You know, you'd navigate. I don't know. It's just that added pressure of having to do content to promote a record that you're going to make 12 pence off. You know?
I agree. I completely agree. I always feel hypocritical when I say this, because obviously our business is, you know, is to do content for social media and for websites and stuff like that. So I always feel hypocritical whenever I say this, but if I didn't have to be on it, I wouldn't, because I find it's time consuming, it's tiring, it's just rubbish, man.
Something
you know
else
what I mean?
to learn. For me, it's something else to learn.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And you know, and I've had to, you know, you've had to do it. You've put on a night, and it's like, you know, Simon in the band, fantastic graphic artist, so he does all the graphics and bits and pieces like that, and you know, you share it, and 4 people look at it, and then you share a picture of a cake you made, and 2,000 people look at it, and you're thinking, you know, everybody talks about the algorithm. I don't want to go grumpy old man, but you know, it's like.
Well, look, we did grumpy old man before we even turned the cameras on.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we got all that out of the way. But the thing is, it's. You know, it should be there to sort of. I think it hinders most people. You know, you get the people that get 10, 15,000 views on something. You know, they slip down the driveway and crack their head open on a wheelie bin, and it's like, right, yeah, but you know, I'm putting a night on, and you know, and lots of people I've spoken to, it's like, you know, find it really hard, you know, because I love the music, you know, and I just want to keep doing it as long as I can, and you know, having to promote something to get sort of like 50 people down. You know, to do it. I mean, everybody's done it, you know, DJ to an empty room. But, you know, it's that...
It's the added hassle of having to self-promote all the time, isn't it? You know, added hassle with it. Again, I think this transpires to every industry again. You know, I film fucking tarmacking. You know what I mean? They use that to promote themselves and whatnot, which is great. I love it. You know what I mean? I love the guys and everything. We'll film absolutely anything, but it's all for self promotion. You know, and gone are the days where, you know, probably back in the day where you was doing stuff, getting booked for Ibiza and stuff like that. It'd all be done for an agent. That was the agent's job to do all that. That was the promoter's job to do all that. Now their jobs are a piece of piss because you self-promote yourself.
So I did a lot of that stuff. I looked after a lot of my stuff. We had a manager who used to look after us, and she was brilliant. And then sort of we then got passed around a few managers, and I look then the point when me and Dave Valentine stopped remixing together, I went off on my own, and I managed. You know, I watched everything that other people were doing, and then I did it myself for about 8 years, and it worked. It was, you know, we didn't have social media then. It was, you know, you picked the phone, you had your black book, pick the phone up and speak to people. You know, I still speak to people, you know, that I dealt with sort of in the early 90s. Now, the good thing about the Facebook and that is it's brought everybody and it's brought the world a lot closer. And it's, you know, I've met people from all around the world, and it's just nice to, you know, just fire someone a message quickly, and you know, it can be anywhere in the world. But, you know, it's, I got a new agent when I started working with Leroy. You know, I was with the same agent as him for quite a while, and then, you know, went from being exclusive to non-exclusive. But then which helped me do my own thing. So if I've got a couple of gigs that come in, you know, if someone's got me a gig, yeah, you take the 20%. Or, you know, I don't want people to be out of pocket. But if I've done all the legwork, then
yeah, of course,
you know,
why not?
Yeah. And yeah, it's been quite funny as well. I can't name names because it'd get me into trouble. But I had an agent after the last agent who didn't do absolutely nothing. Just like, he was just useless. And I started getting a few of my own gigs. And he got a bit nasty. So, no, you can't do that. We've got a contract. And it was during COVID, just before COVID, we had this sort of bust up. But then obviously COVID happened, nothing was happening. And we started doing things online. Doing, you know, like, doing mixes out of your studio. And my friend Chris, I've got to give him a big up, Chris and Dave East, they do a thing called SMC Radio, and started doing that. And Chris had put my name up as Jo Morena. I'm known as my name's Giuseppe, but everybody knows me as Joe. And he'd put it out on the socials, and lo and behold, the agent popped this out. Oh, I didn't know about this. I said, oh, I haven't spoken to you for 18 months, you know. And I said, it's a radio show. I ain't getting paid for it. I'm just helping a mate out. And there was this thing called Clubhouse during COVID, and they had all these rooms. You could join these chat rooms, and it's all audio based. And there was this one called. There's one at 9 p.m. I stumbled into it because it was the 9 p.m. club, and I was looking at for something to do, and I was listening to people talking, and it got quite deep, and everyone was talking about all different sort of things. I thought, that's all right, and it was just quite nice to be listening to loads of people. And then there was a guy in there, and I sort of said a few things, and they invited me to talk on their morning motivation group, and in that group there was a solicitor. And I got quite friendly with, you know, chatting with him, and I said, oh yeah, well, and I sort of, you know, people had added each other on Facebook and Instagram, and I sort of said, oh yeah, I've got a bit of a problem with this agent, you know, he's been like, so he's looked at the contract and he said, who's Jo Morena? Because obviously my name on the Clubhouse is Giuseppe. I said, oh, that's what everybody knows me. He goes, oh, the contract says Jo Morena. Is there any legal documentation with that name on? And I went, no. He goes, right, change it. And then my social media everybody knows, why have you put your name to Giuseppe? I said, because I can actually DJ under that name again and not have any problems with this until the sort of contract runs out with this guy. And so that was quite funny.
Brilliant.
Because obviously, Jo Morena doesn't exist. I got caught out with that as well a couple of times because I then made him my agent, but it was really me.
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh, you got to deal with Joe. Just send him an email."
Yeah.
No, we've never met him. I said, "Oh yeah, he's really busy."
Well, I can assure you, Joe does exist because
Yeah.
he's sitting here in our podcast studio.
Yeah.
And yeah, listen, man. I just want to say thank you very much for your time this evening because it was all super last minute, and it's like fucking World War III outside on firework night.
Building on
Sitting
fire.
here with all bangs and fizzies and shit going on outside. So I just want to really thank you for taking the time to come and talk to me.
I hope I
this
haven't
evening.
waffled on too long. I just sort of try to keep
You know,
it
you know what?
light-hearted.
You know what? I love what you've done. I love what you've achieved, who you work with, your passion for music, everything. Mate, I love it. I absolutely love it. I think you're an inspiration to a lot of people.
Yeah, just one thing. I'm starting to do an alternate provision for kids that are not in education with a friend, or a couple of friends, Katie and Barry. So kids, there's so many kids not in education through one thing or another. So I'm really looking forward to that sort of basic music sort of production and electronic music production, and I'm really looking forward to that starting soon. And giving something back. That sort of thing sort of excites me now.
And what's that? Is that through a charity or?
It's Kate and Barry have said it's Ascension alternate provision, and obviously they'll get the kids that want to sort of get involved with the music production side of it. They're doing other things, like sports. It's based over at Harlow Football Club, and it will be based for a couple of days over at the Hot Box.
Okay.
So I can show kids in a proper environment how to DJ as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward because some of these kids have had a bit of a tough time, and I was shocked the amount of kids in Essex that aren't in full-time education, through like mental health and trouble at home and stuff like that. And as a father, you look, you think, oh, you feel sorry for these kids, and you just want to sort of be able to say, no, you're not useless. You just people not everybody fits into school, into the school system. We could go on all day about this, neurodiversity and all sorts of things like that. But it's something that sort of ignited, I don't know. I feel more passionate. I feel really passionate. I love the music, but sort of that side of it, showing, kids, because I was, we were the naughty class at school. We were the worst class through the 5 years. But I don't think we were naughty. We were just sort of, we had other issues.
Unruly, innit?
Yeah.
I was the same when. I grew up in Wickford. I left school, no education whatsoever. I barely went to school. I'd wait at the top of the road for my mum to go to work, and then I'd go home. You know what I mean? I think it was the same as what all of us did. I don't think it was naughty kids. I think it was just different back then, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's nice that you can, give back. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I had a good teacher, that sort of saw the fact that I liked music and sort of just let us loose, and we had, by the time we were 15, we had a band going and we were on Essex radio, and it was just like,
amazing.
He'd let us, he saw the fact that we liked messing around in music and actually writing songs, with I used to be the drummer, and and it was good. And it's just like I've seen some of these kids now, and I'm just thinking, I see a lot of myself, how I was, and I'm thinking, right,
give them a chance.
Yeah, you've got to give people a chance, because I want to be that person that gives someone a chance. There's got to be a few more people do that. Do that for people. The world would be better, wouldn't it?
It would. It really would. Jo, thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you very, very much for coming. And listen, thanks very much for watching the podcast with the amazing Jo. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to the channel. Give the little like button a little click there as well. And if you fancy it, you could do the little bell thing as well, just to get notified when the videos are coming on. Thanks ever so much for watching. Let's Talk Podcast.